Hello and welcome to our program Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where we educate and inspire on various topics around healthy living and quality lifestyle. Now today for our first guest we have Mark Corazzo, who's a business consultant and coach, and this is a series of positive psychology, and today the topic is relationships. Welcome, Mark.
Welcome, Linda.
How important are relationships to our well-being?
They're critical, Linda. In fact, it's impossible to overstate the importance of relationships. There's some suggestion out there that if you have somebody that you can ring at 3 a.m. in the morning to tell your problems to, you're probably going to live longer than somebody who doesn't. We also have some Harvard research saying that people with the strongest social support groups are the happiest. So the need for strong interpersonal connections is very deep in all of us, and people that have that generally have better well-being and a happier life.
And how can we improve our relationships?
Well, I think the first thing to do is to express kindness to people is a great way to not only get more relationships, but to improve the ones we have. It sounds fairly obvious, but there's good proof out there that that does help. And not only does it make that person receiving it feel good, there's evidence suggesting that it makes ourselves feel even better. So that express gratitude to people for what they do and the roles they play in our lives. We too often overlook that. And I think just, if we can, being a happy and optimistic person tends to endear ourselves to people. We know that people are more likely to want to be around us when our mood is high than when it's not.
And would you have any advice on how we can improve in that regard, in the area of relationships?
Well, in our own personal, intimate relationships, it's pretty much the same thing. Firstly, spend more time with your partner. We all live very busy lives and we don't get that time together as much as we should. There again, express gratitude, simple moments throughout the day where you can say, thank you for doing that for me. That really helps, and of course you're more likely to get that in return. Be very positive in your language. There has been some studies done which suggests that you should use positive language. The ratio that has been suggested is for every one negative you may say to your closest, that you should say 3 positive things without sounding not authentic about it. So they're my tips about personal relationships, Linda.
What about low moments in our lives, Mark?
Yes, those real low ebbs in our life where we're going through extreme trauma or distress. I sort of go back to a long-held saying that a problem shared is a problem halved, and that seems to be borne out by the scientific proof that we have. We know that cancer sufferers, for instance, are more likely to have reduced anxiety and better prospects of recovery if they're part of a support group. And of course, when you are at those low moments, there's very practical advice that your relationships can provide you. It might be somebody to take you to hospital or somebody to find some valuable information for you. So just in any stage of your life, but particularly in those low ebbs, relationships are critical.
Very true. And what about in the workplace? How does it play? How would good relationships play out there?
Well, we spend so much of our time at the workplace, don't we? And so much of our relationships and friendships are sort of born out of time at work. Yes, so important that we have a workplace where people socialise, and they've proven that that adds to a better performing and more highly energetic team when people socialise. And from the point of view of the managers and leaders, I think it's really important that they express praise to their staff and spend time understanding the particular personalities that they deal with every day. It really helps.
Mm-hmm. And would there be any other tips that you could give our viewers apart from all of that you've shared so far?
Well, I did say expressing gratitude for relationships. It's going to be a word you're going to hear a lot in the positive psychology series because it's just so important. So I'd reiterate that. And the other thing I think is very important in relationships is to be open and be authentic. I think we all have an antenna for people that aren't being that way, and I think they're my sort of two closing tips for people.
And Mark, would you have any more tips for our viewers?
I think I'd like to leave them with a point I've already said before. It's so important to express gratitude to our friends and to our connections for the many, many things they do for us on a daily basis. And it's so easy to overlook those things, even the things that we might think are routine. That to me is very important. Also connected is to express praise for things that are done well, everybody likes to hear that, as well as they love to hear the word thanks. I think we also need to be aware that we, in a sense, have a bit of a social duty in our friendships and connections, and that comes from a principle that we know called social contagion, which basically directs that our mood tends to follow the mood of the person expressing the highest or strongest emotion, either positive or negative. So if we come into a room and we're very happy, then it's likely that the people we're with will also become happy. If the alternative is true and we come into a room not in a very good mood, on a bit of a downer, that's going to relate to other people and they're therefore going to share that with others in their day. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I accept that there are points of our lives when we are very down, but there are also occasions where we might be able to get through our day without expressing them to others and making sure we stay really in an upbeat mood.
Thank you, Mark. And for more about keeping an upbeat mood in relationships and positive psychology and Mark Carazzo, then please go to our website healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. Welcome back, and now we have Dr. Zara Chelik, an integrative health and wellness expert, and she's talking to us today about gut health. So welcome, Zara. For our viewers, how would they know when somebody's having gut health problems?
Yeah, absolutely. So I normally would recommend and encourage people to pay attention to the physical symptoms. So the symptoms are actually telling us and giving us feedback about what is happening internally in terms of gut health. So certain symptoms could be, and not exactly, but it could be such as bloating, having diarrhea, constipation, flatulence, or also, indigestion, heartburn, things like that can indicate that the gut health is not performing really well.
Okay, so what's important for our viewers to know in that instance?
It is important that we recognise there are symptoms and our physiology is giving us feedback to let us know something isn't right. So consulting with your healthcare practitioner, maybe getting a stool test done to see the root cause of your symptoms. It could be maybe a parasite, again, it could be maybe candidiasis, overgrowth in the digestive health. The symptoms are giving feedback to let the individual know something isn't quite right. So I will encourage our viewers to get in touch with their body, connect with the body, and recognise the symptoms. Maybe keep a food diary to see what serves them in terms of nutrition and what doesn't. And to, again, consult their healthcare practitioner and get a stool test done and take it from there.
What would you say happens for people when they've got those symptoms?
Well, immune system can be compromised or not functioning, at optimum level. The individual may feel phlegm in the morning, congestion in the nasal cavity, maybe puffiness under the eyes. They may find they are frequently getting colds and flus, or they have inflammation in the body, or the energy levels a little bit low, could indicate to the individual that gut health needs some attention as well.
Right, and that would include tiredness, I suppose, is that?
Well, they could be, but then tiredness could come on from other things as well. So I wouldn't particularly say tiredness, but definitely foggy brain could be one of the things. If the person's feeling, foggy brain or a bit sluggish in terms of energy levels, the gut health again may play a role. And again, it's just more the physical symptoms, that food intolerance, that people think, oh yeah, I'm intolerant, I just, cut this food out. I encourage people to really get to know the root cause. That's what's really important. So we are not really depleted and the microbiome is functioning well and we're absorbing our nutrients. We're not having any deficiencies such as iron deficiency and things like that. In that regards, in that sense, it is important that people find the root cause. So nothing is actually eating our reserves and depleting us from our nutrients.
Would you suggest a particular type of nutrition for people with gut health problems?
Yeah, so again, everyone's bio-individual. I will encourage everyone to connect with the physical body and see what really serves their by individuality, because there is not one particular food or nutrition fits and serves everyone's needs. So it is important that we connect with what we're eating and also seeing how that food serves us. Do we get certain symptoms to let us know that it doesn't resonate with our body? And if that's the case, that may not necessarily serve that particular individual. So by individual diet is what I actually encourage people to get onto.
What would be the top tip be for people to bear in mind about gut health?
Yeah, so keeping an eye on your stress levels, keeping an eye on how you are eating. Are you practicing mindful eating? Are you swallowing? Are you a quick eater? They all sort of play a role when it comes to taking care of our gut health. Not to eat with emotions is definitely a good tip, because we can go with our emotions and start eating, but it may not necessarily be the right thing at that time. So the body may be telling us something else. For example, somebody could be angry or upset, or stress can be a bit heightened, and they may sort of, go and suppress that with eating. And in that state, when we're eating in that stressful state, in that heightened state, the nervous system is not balanced. The parasympathetic nervous system is not active. The autonomic nervous system is in balance. So if an individual eats in that stressful state, then really they are eating at sympathetic level, nervous system being overactive, in overdrive, which doesn't serve the body, which doesn't really serve the digestive health. So I will encourage people to really pay attention to their state when they're eating as well.
Do you have any particular advice for our viewers just before we go to break?
Absolutely. So connect to see what your body is telling you, and it is important that you pay attention and really respect your body, to really connect, to understand that your body is conveying a message to you, and that you do respect your body's needs and you act upon those symptoms.
Thank you. And for more information on Dr. Zara and gut health, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. Next time, Dr. Zara will be back talking to us about how to detox your life. And next we have Vicky Jamieson, who's here today to talk to us about her top tips for staying younger. She's a skin nutritionist, so she's expert in her field. Welcome, Vicky.
Thank you.
So what would be your top 5 tips?
Well, it's really simple, and it starts off with looking at what really ages our skin prematurely. So the 3 things that age us prematurely are sun, pollution, and also stress. So my 5 tips that everyone can do, and they're all really simple. So the first one is, of course, to protect against the sun, which is using an SPF every single day. And one of the key things I get asked a lot is to what number should I have? So SPF 15 is the best because it has the less chemicals and toxins in it, so it's better for your skin and better for your body. So a 15, and then to reapply is actually a best idea. The second tip is cleansing your skin every night. Well, in fact, we all have pollution on our skin, and if you think about how much is around Melbourne, you can see it in the sky. So that will break down. Your skin absorbs at night whatever's on your skin. So we want to wash that away before we go to sleep. The third thing is actually breathing. I'm talking about abdominal breathing or meditation, or that kind of diaphragmic breathing where you're breathing from your tummy. So we're actually expanding the lower part of our diaphragm, and that actually does this really amazing thing in our body. It triggers to the nervous system to relax. So it gives the nervous system a really good break from our busy life and always being switched on, which would normally break down our skin. So when we're on, we release cortisol, and when we're just busy, that's what breaks down our skin. So it breaks down connective tissue all over our body, but particularly our collagen. So if we don't do anything about that, we will get saggier skin and you'll see deeper lines. So that's kind of a key And it's really easy to do. Now, if you can't sit still, start with 2 minutes a day and build up to 5 minutes and then 10 to 15 minutes. 15 minutes is ideal every single day. And then the fourth thing is actually using some skincare. So I go for non-toxic skincare that's plant-based, but also very science-based. So what I mean by that is using plant-based ingredients, which are really healthy for our skin and help feed it like food, but can also process to the lower level where our skin's being made. So once it gets down there, that's how we can start our skin keeping nice and healthy and vibrant and young and making the right kind of cells. So things to look for are no parabens, because those are the toxins, no chemicals. Takes 26 seconds for your skin to absorb chemicals into your bloodstream. So we're also having a health effect, which then may come out on our skin. So think of pimples, eczema, that type of thing. Could be a good indication that you've got too many chemicals in your products. And then looking for something that will work every single day. So keeping it simple. And the last tip, my number 5, is nutrition and hydration. So those seem like really obvious, but they directly impact our skin. So our skin reflects whatever we are putting in our body just as much as what we're putting on our skin. So obviously a high plant-based diet, but also making sure, and this is particularly important for women over 40, or as our hormones change and we come into perimenopause and menopause, we actually start eating away our muscle tissue, and that's also our collagen in our face and everywhere in our body. So to stop that sagging, we need to get enough protein, and then we also need to have enough nutrients going into our body. So while we say whole foods, you also nowadays need supplementation, but a good supplement. The water is very important because it helps move everything around. So the function of our skin is actually to get rid of toxins and to heat regulate. So the water content actually keeps your skin hydrated, moist, so you get that great glow. That will keep you looking a lot younger. And then it also obviously you are feeling better because you can get things moving around in your body.
Wonderful. For more information on Vicky and skin nutrition, please go to our website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. And now we have with us Tracy Jardim, who's a raw food advocate. And she's here today to talk to us about raw food and gluten. Welcome, Tracy.
Thanks, Linda. First of all, I'd like to talk about what raw food actually is. So raw food is food that has not been refined, chemically processed, canned, or heated to over 48 degrees Celsius. So the reason why I wanted to talk about gluten and raw food is because gluten is such a big issue for a lot of people nowadays. Celiac Australia tell us that there's approximately 1 in 70 people in Australia who actually have celiac disease. And this is a really high number. But another concern is that they say the majority of the people who have celiac disease actually aren't aware of it. And further on that, 1 in 14 people actually are saying that they have a gluten intolerance.
So what is exactly celiac disease? Is that a complete intolerance? What is that?
So yeah, celiac disease is basically an allergy, a complete allergy to anything that contains gluten. And if it's consumed by someone who has celiac disease, it causes inflammation and damage to the stomach. So, and it can't be reversed. The only way that it can be treated is with a gluten-free diet. So it's actually incurable. So raw food is actually either low in gluten or completely gluten-free. And that's why it's important to include some raw food in our diets, especially for people who have an issue with gluten content. The other thing to remember is that when we're going out and looking for foods that are labelled gluten-free, do check the labels, turn it around and have a look, because it may say may contain traces of gluten, and that's really important for people who have celiac disease, because any trace of gluten can actually be life-threatening.
We see a lot of gluten-free products in the shop, or that are labelled gluten-free products. Are they all actually good for us?
No, actually, they're not all good for us, because a lot of the gluten-free products, like bread, for example, contain a lot of refined sugars. That's something we're going to be talking about next week. So it's important to make sure that we include raw food in our diet, especially when we've got a gluten intolerance.
Oh, that's great. And for some more like top tips for our viewers, what would you say is your absolute top tip for our viewers?
I would say that if gluten is an issue for you, make sure that you're including lots of leafy greens and vegetables and fruits, and seeds and grains that don't include gluten, like oats, barley, rye and wheat.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. For more information on Tracy and about gluten in your foods, then please go to our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au, and we'll say bye-bye for now and see you next week. Thank you.